Another week of the Gabby Gordon Show. What is going on? It's Friday, September 12th, 2025. Missed you all last week as we didn't have a show. That's because I was producing a 3-hour show here at Hofstra for the Locker Room program, which is our athletic show, and we had a whole fall sports preview show that encompassed the 4 fall sports: field hockey, volleyball, men's soccer, women's soccer. That was a great program, and I had a lot of fun putting it together, but unfortunately it took too much time on Friday, and I just could not get a podcast up. I just had other things to do, but we're back in action as the regularly scheduled programming. I'm your host, Gabby Gordon, and we've got a lot to talk about, all right? Week 1 of the NFL is in the past. Week 2 began last night. The Packers defeated the Commanders. We'll talk about that really briefly, but I really do want to talk about Week 1, and I know because we do these podcasts on the Fridays, some things are a little out of date, but definitely still want to get to it and talk about it, and talk about all your reactions, because I posted on Monday, obviously excluding the Monday night game, your Week 1 reactions. We call it Week 1 Wakeup. We also got MLB stuff. The postseason is coming up. We're in the final stretch of the regular season, and the Mets might miss the playoffs. I don't know if we're going to get to it today. We got a lot of football to talk about, but I just wanted to put that out there. Mets fans, I don't know, guys. I don't know what to tell you. But nonetheless, let's get this thing started off the right way on the Week 1 Wake Up. It's a new segment we're going to be doing during this NFL season, where each week it'll be the Wake Up, and we'll talk about some of the things you guys sent in to me on social media about your opinions, your reactions. Maybe they're a little early of reactions, but that's okay. So I think it's on brand to start off with this one. Now, it came in to me from a Packers fan, so take what you will with it. And at the same time, I am a Packers fan, so I'm, of course, of the positive mindset that this team is really something special. In these first 2 games of the regular season, they're 2-0. They've played arguably the 2 best NFC teams thus far, at least last year based on that. And the Lions were Super Bowl favorites coming into last season, and we'll talk briefly about the Lions and their struggles and what this week means to them. And the Commanders, too. The Commanders, a young team, young quarterback, Jaden Daniels. He's now in his 2nd year, and he did some really incredible things in his rookie campaign. The Packers have pretty much handled these teams with no problem. The defense, with the addition of Micah Parsons, has looked unstoppable. They've been able to make incredible plays. They've had so many pressures. They had 4 sacks last night, I believe. So really great things for the Packers. And this fan commented in and said the Packers should be seen as the Super Bowl favorites. Now, is that an overreaction or is that legit? I'll tell you, after Week 1, now this was sent in to me after Week 1 on Monday of this week. So I think a little early at that point. But we're going to take it and analyze it with the 2 games now in mind. The one they played last night against the Commanders and the one they played against the Lions. Both of these teams, talented teams with solid coaching. I think the Commanders and Dan Quinn, you can say what you want about Dan Quinn. I think he made some questionable decisions last night. I think Dan Campbell has proven himself to be a pretty solid coach, but I also think on the same wavelength that there was some questionable coaching decisions by him and his offensive coordinator against the Packers Week 1. Both of these teams did not put up a relatively competitive fight against the Packers. Now, is that just a fluke? Are these 2 teams just struggling right now? Or are the Packers just really that good? That's the real question. Now, Jordan Love's entering a season where eyes are on him, because if he can't get things done this year, I mean, this team is chasing a Super Bowl, right? Last season, not so much. Last season, you make the playoffs, you're happy. Uncertainty. You've got such a young squad. I mean, this team is still so young. Like Micah Parsons, he fits the demographic of the Packers because of how young he is. I think I can count on my singular hand, and I think I talked about this in a previous podcast, how many on the team are 30 or older. I think I can count on my one hand. It's certainly not more than 10, so you can count on two hands. And it's crazy to me how young this group is and how they've taken such strides. And a lot of the question was the wide receiver core. Who's Jordan Love going to throw to? You don't really have a wide receiver one, right? You got questions about Christian Watson, who signed an extension. Romeo Doubs, Jaden Reed, who's now injured with a broken collarbone. He's going to be out for 6 to 8 weeks. That's a loss. Matthew Golden, huge acquisition in the trade. And I think he's going to be a stud. I really think he needs some development, but he's going to get there. No doubt about it. The Packers have done a pretty decent job in their tenure and in their career of developing wide receivers. So I think that's going to be good. And Tucker Kraft, man. Tucker Kraft is a dog. He's a dog. I mean, he's been doing things that we haven't seen a tight end do in a long time. He can move. He can make plays. He breaks tackles. He gets open. He's pretty much, in my mind, just another wide receiver. And he is every fantasy football owner's dream right now. So the Packers are set up for a lot of success right now. All right? They're set up for a lot of success. And so I think it's incorrect to say that these 2 wins, to put them at 2-0, are flukes. I also think it's incorrect to say that they're playing against weak competition, because they're not. I mean, the Lions and the Commanders, not weak competition. Both teams, playoff aspirations this year, or you think it's a failed campaign. I want to talk about the Lions briefly, because I think this week means absolutely everything to them. I think if the Detroit Lions start their season 0-2, it's time to panic. And I think Dan Orlovsky said this as well. On ESPN. I believe it was ESPN. But I know for a fact Dan Orlovsky said, if the Lions go 0-2 after week 2, it's time to panic. And I'll tell you why. And I'm going to make the comparison. We'll compare them to the Chiefs, because that's another team. Listen, that's another team that came out cold week 1. I'll make the comparison, though. You have a Chiefs team that's 0-1 right now, right? Andy Reid led, and all they've been able to do, people calling them, a dynasty at some points in the last 5 years, and all the success. And yeah, they dropped the Super Bowl last season against the Eagles, but regardless, they were still in it, right? So they're a continuous powerhouse team, and they've got one of the greatest quarterbacks to ever do it under center. They're 0-1. They go 0-2. Is it time to panic? I don't necessarily think so, because you've got a Hall of Famer in Patrick Mahomes who's still got so much career left, who can do so many things, and a Hall of Fame coach in Andy Reid, who's one of the best in the business. You take the Lions, though, and you go 0-2. You don't have those two things in my eyes. Jared Goff is not a generational talent like Patrick Mahomes is. Jared Goff, if he underperforms this year, I could see him no longer being the franchise quarterback for Detroit. And Dan Campbell, listen, he's led his team. He's turned it around. When he inherited the Detroit Lions, they were in a bad place. His first season, they were in a bad place, and he's turned the program around. And I give him a ton of credit for that. But he's not Andy Reid. He's not Andy Reid. So if the Lions go 0-2, I think there's some questions to be had. And they got a different squad this season, but that's the thing. All these teams are coming in the NFC, and they're different teams. The Packers are a different team than they were last year. They don't have Jair Alexander in their defense. They've replaced their defensive hole with Micah Parsons. Major acquisition, incredible move. It's only gone well so far, and he's looked so happy in Lambeau. So I think that's my comparison right there. So you want to say the Packers should be seen as Super Bowl favorites? I think it's a little too early for that, but I will tell you, these are solid wins. Jordan Love looks solid. I mean, he is making plays that we see a veteran quarterback make, and that's where he needs to be at his career right now. I wouldn't call him a veteran, but I'd call him a seasoned player at this point. So you don't want him to be making rookie mistakes, and he's not. He's doing a really, really solid job at controlling what he can control, at protecting the ball, and he's great in the pocket, but honestly, he's even greater scrambling outside of the pocket. He made some moves last night where he lowered the shoulder and he got that first down and he got it done. And a lot of the times you think Jaden Daniels is the guy who's going to do that, and it wasn't last night. Last night it was Jordan Love. So the Packers, they're on the right track, man. They're on the right track, and it's exciting to see. And if they can do it in week 3, well, that's even better. Now, how long is this sustainable? They'll be playing the Cleveland Browns next Sunday, and they're away. They're in Cleveland. To me, why not? Why not 3-0, right? Why not 3-0? And then they play the Cowboys. Why not 4-0? And that's going to be an interesting game, of course, for many reasons, because you got Parsons reuniting in Dallas, and that's going to be interesting. The only game I could see this team dropping in the next 3 weeks is against the Bengals, but they're at home, and the Bengals' offenses look shaky. So unless the Bengals turn it around, I don't know. I mean, this is a Packers team that could just absolutely annihilate teams. Because then they play after the Bengals, the Cardinals, the Steelers, the Panthers. All 3 I see as wins. The only tough matchup I see is November 10th against the Eagles. That's it. So the Packers they've got a schedule that works in their favor to win a division, to win a conference. So we're going to have to... A team that's been struggling, though, and it's going to be the next bullet point on my Week 1 wake-up, is the New York Giants. And there was no question they're going to come in, they're going to have struggles, because this is a team that was just god-awful last year. Hard to watch. Hard to watch. And then the draft of Jackson Dart woke people up a little bit. You see what this rookie can do in preseason, and he had a pretty solid couple of a couple of appearances in the preseason. And people get excited because he's got swag. He's from Ole Miss, so you have the Eli Manning connection and all that stuff. And he's got the name. I mean, Jackson Dart. Like, there's not much of a better quarterback name you could seek than Jackson Dart. The thing with the Giants, though, at least for me, from my standpoint, is why do you have the quarterback room you have, but you have Jackson Dart as the 2 in your depth chart, right? It goes Russell Wilson, Jackson Dart, and then it goes Jameis Winston. You have to be, if you're the New York Giants, very, very careful with what you do with Jackson Dart here. You have to develop him properly. If you do not develop him properly, you're going to ruin his career before it even begins. And that would be the absolute worst thing for New York, because I do think he's going to be successful in this league if he is managed properly and developed the right way. A wonderful, wonderful, wonderful example of that is with the Packers and Jordan Love and how they develop quarterbacks there. He sat behind Rodgers, he learned from the best, and then he went out there and did his thing, and now he's going to be able to do it for another guy one day. Right? The Giants have to do the same thing. If they don't do it that way, it's just going to be problematic, and that they're not going to get him where they want to be. They're going to waste away a talent. And they did it, and they wasted Daniel Jones' career. And you see what he's been able to do in Indy so far. Is it a fluke? We'll have to see, right? Week 1 is all about, is it a fluke? Is it not? Is it legit? Is it not? If Danny Dimes goes out there and acts like Danny Dimes this week, then the Giants have a quarterback production problem. Because you've got Russell Wilson, who is Russell Wilson. I mean, Seahawks Wilson, dominating. Post-Seahawks Wilson, not so much. That's the difference. But it's Russell Wilson nonetheless. Hasn't been able to get it done on offense in week 1 against the Commanders. And the Giants' defense, holding the Commanders to what they held them to, is a pretty nice feat, because you've got a pretty solid, on paper at least, Commanders offense. Right? But the Giants they couldn't score a touchdown. They didn't move the ball down the field. Didn't look good. All cylinders, just didn't look like a good operation. So then everybody's calling for Jackson Dart to be the week 2 starter. I'm one of those people that says absolutely not. It's a great mistake if you do that. Because how could you do that? He's not ready. He's not. You're going to throw him into a team. That isn't successful. You're going to kill his self-esteem in a New York market, a New York sports market that is so critical of everything. You're going to send him there, and yeah, maybe he can handle it. Maybe he's got thick skin. Maybe he's one of those guys that actually has what you cannot coach and just has the right mentality. But how can you put him in that situation in week 2 when you've got Russell Wilson and Jameis Winston? He should not start any time in the next 2 months plus. He should sit there and learn and understand that this season is a reestablish yourself type of season for the Giants. They've done anything but that. I mean, they look like the same exact team, and they're playing the Cowboys this week. And there's very little possibility in my eyes that they win this game. Now, I could be wrong, and if they do, that's great. But it's possible they don't. And so you don't want to put a rookie that you have high hopes for in a situation to fail when you don't have to. Like the Bears and Caleb Williams, they didn't have anybody else. Caleb Williams was the franchise quarterback from the moment he was drafted. He was thrown into the fire. He handled it relatively well. But for the Giants, you don't have to throw a dart into the fire. You can work with what you have for a while until you're forced to do something else, but you're not forced to right now. There's no reason that Russell Wilson can't figure it out. He's a veteran. One of the biggest veterans in this league. Right? This is a league of young quarterbacks now. I mean, the demographic is changing. You've got young guys, Jordan Love, Jaden Daniels, J.J. McCarthy now, who's going to start establishing himself, who looked solid at the end of that game last week. Josh Allen's still young. Patrick Mahomes is young. You've got young guys leading this league in the quarterback position. Russell Wilson is one of the older veterans. There's no reason he can't make something happen. You got Malik Neighbors, who I believe is an incredible talent if used properly. You see what he did in his rookie campaign, and now he's in his second year, and give him the ball. You're Russell Wilson. Make it happen. You want to make a statement? Make a statement. But don't put it on Jackson Dart's shoulders in week 2. That just, to me, is stupid. So I think that the original week 1 wake-up point was that the Giants are done, right? That the Giants are they're done. And that everyone should get fired. I don't think that's accurate. I don't think you can say that they're done yet, right? I think it's going to be another disappointing season. I don't think you're going to see more than 6 wins at the most out of this team, if you get that. 5 would be even nice. But there can be positives, right? There can be positives. So that's the next point. Week 1 wake up. Giants suck. A lot of bad things going on. The next week 1 wake up, there's also another team that sucks. And it has to do with the New England Patriots. And I wrote this down. And the exact comment was, the Patriots still suck. The Patriots are a team that have had some issues since Bill Belichick left, and even in Bill Belichick's final year when you had Mac Jones, and just how horrendous the Patriots have been. And now you've got Drake May leading the team, and I don't know what I see in Drake May yet. But by the same token, the New England Patriots are playing a team this week in the Lions. What's going on here? In the Dolphins that are just horrendous. What they did last week was horrendous. But the Patriots are a middle-of-the-road team that the Dolphins should be beating. I gotta be honest with you, I don't know if the Dolphins can beat this team. Because Tua Tagovailoa has been abysmal, and Tyreek Hill has no connection with him anymore. I mean, it's bad. Really bad. Miami's defense looks pretty poised. In my eyes, they look pretty poised to rebound. I don't think that they're a good defense, but they look poised to rebound themselves. And the offense has just been, there has been absolutely no consistency on any cylinders. I don't even necessarily know what to expect from the Dolphins because they look so discombobulated, so unprepared. Drake May had 1 touchdown and 1 interception against the Raiders last week, another not great team. So he's an excellent opportunity for the Dolphins defense to gain some confidence. But on the flip side, the Dolphins defense and the Dolphins as a whole and the whole scheme and everything that's going on and Tua and just the lack of production. You see Tyreek Hill getting pissed off on the sidelines and everyone seems miserable in Miami, including the coach. I mean, I don't see much here. There's really not that much to talk about with these two teams until I see this week when they play against each other because they're both, in my eyes, bad football teams. Miami is not a good football team. New England is not a good football team. I don't see Drake May as the franchise quarterback. I certainly don't see Tua as the franchise quarterback. Both teams in very similar positions. I think that the Dolphins are in a worse position than New England because I believe New England is still in a rebuilding process. I believe that they're still in a phase with a lot of work to do and a lot of young talent. I think Miami's just bad. I think Miami's just in a hole. And they don't have a quarterback. They don't have a functional quarterback. Tua's just not it. He doesn't have a strong enough arm. He doesn't have a good enough pocket presence. And he gets hit on every single play. And I'm telling you, all it's going to take, and I hope to God this doesn't happen because he's a good guy and he doesn't deserve it. Injury after injury after injury. Concussion after concussion. All it's going to take is one hit and he's done and he's not coming back. Like his career will be over with one more concussion. And the way he's been getting hit, the way that his offensive line can't protect him, the way that he doesn't have the ability to scramble or throw the ball away, he's going to be done. The Dolphins need a contingency plan because Tua's not it. So that point about New England, for me, I see that more as a point about Miami. I think this is a game that the Patriots can and should win. And that's a big statement because they're not great. That's a big statement because the Patriots are not a great team. So when I think that they should win, is that me saying the Patriots are good or that the Dolphins are just really, really bad? I'll let you know next Friday based on the outcome of that score. I think it's going to be a miserable game to watch. I'm not even going to watch it. It'll be on Red Zone, I'm sure, here and there. But that's a terrible game to want to cover because it's just two teams in terrible positions right now that I feel for Patriots and Dolphins. So that was the Week 1 Wake Up. Those weren't all the comments, but those were a bulk of them, and a lot of them followed the same theme. A lot of them had to do with the Giants. A lot of them had to do with the Packers. There was a couple on the Bills and Ravens as well, and that was an incredible game, but it's been covered so much already that I can't say what hasn't already been said by so many different media outlets and analysts and personalities. I think that it was so exciting. Like, that's just a game that you'll remember forever. That's one of the greatest comebacks we've seen in such a long time and maybe ever. What Josh Allen can do, he is 100% deserving of the MVP he's received, and he's already in the running for this year in 1 week. So can he sustain that? We'll see. But those are the types of games that, you look and you see a Super Bowl contending team because Lamar Jackson is hard to beat. And you got to feel for him because he couldn't have done anything differently. Offensively, that team was unreal. I mean, both defenses looked concerning because you let the other offense just march down the field against you like it was nothing. Like it was nothing. And in the end, Sean McDermott, Josh Allen, they were the better team. They were the better team in that game. And what an incredible game to watch. And if you turned it off because you thought the game was over, man, you got to stick it out and let that be a lesson that it's not over till it's over. Because I was not one of those people. In fact, I was actually one who said very clearly, I think the Bills can still win this game to my dad. My dad turns to me and says, yeah, no shot. What do you know? 41-40. So that was just an incredible game, but I didn't really want to harp on it too much because, again, it's just been covered so much. And actually, I just got a note from Underdog. Jalen Waddle is not listed on the injury report for Week 2, so that's a silver lining maybe for the Miami Dolphins. They got to utilize him, though. Tua's got to reach him. He's got to throw to him. right? If you're not going to throw to Tyreek, you might as well throw to Waddle if you got two really solid receivers. But yeah, Ravens and Bills, that was just an incredible game to watch and be a part of. And it's going to be fun to see what these two teams do. And Lamar and the whole shoving a fan incident, now that fan banned from the Bills games in the stadium, and I don't even know what went on there. I think that was emotions, and you can't do that as a veteran quarterback who's trying to win a Super Bowl. You got to keep yourself composed. I get it. Testosterone, emotions, they come together, and they're ugly sometimes, especially when you lose a game the way you just lost that game. That was interesting. So that's that. I want to get to the New York Jets. Because, and this is probably the last NFL point I'll make for the podcast, because we're already well over 20 minutes, and attention spans are pretty short these days. So if you're still listening, you're a real one. Listen, the Jets are an interesting team for a multitude of reasons. Number one, you've got a new head coach in Aaron Glenn, a guy who is such an interesting dude to talk to when you're a member of the media because of his responses. You've got Justin Fields leading your team, and he looked great. And you've got a culture that couldn't possibly get any worse from what it was last year and the year prior. When the Jets were led by Aaron Rodgers, it was almost as disgusting could be, because Robert Saleh was making just incredibly stupid decisions. Rodgers getting hurt in his first snap and his first play as a Jet, and then you lose him the whole season. Then you got Zach Wilson. Zach Wilson's terrible, and then Rodgers comes back, and then he sucks, and it was terrible. I mean, it couldn't be worse for Jets fans at this moment in time. So to only lose to the Steelers by 2 points in a high-scoring 34-32 game, in a game that I think the Jets should have won, you take away a mistake or two, that's big, right? That's really big. And the Jets seem to be moving in the correct direction. Now, week 2 is a very different story. They're playing against the Bills, and if they can keep it close, that's respectable. They're at home, that helps, right? But the Bills are coming off of one of the best wins they've had in a decade. And the Jets are in a vulnerable place right now as an organization. But the reason I wanted to bring up the Jets is for a couple of reasons. Number one, and maybe the most interesting, is the Aaron Rodgers hate. Now, granted, now he's a Pittsburgh Steeler. So playing against each other last week was so interesting in itself. And Rodgers making the remark that he was so happy to defeat the whole Jets organization. A little petty, but that's the kind of guy Rodgers is. Second point, Aaron Glenn doesn't take crap, man. He doesn't care who you are. He's going to call you out. And he did. And he means business. And I like it. A lot of people are very critical of him for what he's done and in his time there, and the way he responds to the media and the way he responds to the hate, or how he speaks about his players. I think that he is a very hands-on coach, and I think that's exactly what the Jets need. And if you're not hands-on, what are you doing? Not every coach is like that. Andy Reid is a more hands-off type of coach example. Matt LaFleur, in certain situations, is hands-off-ish, but at the same time, he's also hands-on. Right? Sean McDermott, I think he's relatively hands-off because he can trust in Josh Allen to lead a team. Aaron Glenn's hands-on, and he needs to be, because his team has just been stomped into the ground on so many levels, and it's like, what are we doing? What are we doing? And a lot of people are giving this guy hate. I think this team needed a wake-up call, needed a real wake-up call, and I think Aaron Glenn's been giving it to them, and I give him props for that. And if you want an example, a clear example of how Glenn's not messing around, here it is. The Jets planned on, and I believe they did already release Xavier Gipson 2 days ago, per source, per Jetcast. on X. Gibson was the one who had the costly fumble last Sunday. Now they're moving on. That's that. I mean, and Glenn was making points in his post-game presser that said pretty much like you can't go and put the team in a position to lose and expect to play. Now he did say that decisions aren't made by one incident, and he wanted to make it clear that Gibson was not released because of that one fumble, because to me that's crazy if that was the case. You know, players are going to make mistakes. Hey, Derrick Henry fumbled in that game against the Bills, right? Very costly fumble that cost them the game, in my eyes. You're not going to release Derrick Henry for that. Derrick Henry's a generational talent, one of the best we've seen. He's probably going to lead the league in rushes still. He's a beast. But Glenn means business. He calls his players out. He holds them accountable. That's something Saleh didn't do. So if you're a Jets fan and you don't like this guy, what exactly do you want? Because you didn't like Saleh for the very reason that he didn't hold guys accountable. Now you got a guy who maybe holds them accountable a little too much, but is that even a thing? The only negative that holding a player accountable can cause is tension in the locker room and fear to make a mistake. That's the only bad side if you go about it wrong. But these are grown men who do this for a living. They get paid to play this game. If you need to be held accountable, you should be able to take it. Sorry, that's how I believe it. That's how I see it. If you fumble the football and you can't take accountability, your coach is going to do it for you. And if you can't accept that, you're in the wrong industry. You don't think Derrick Henry was the first to go up to his teammates and say, hey, that's on me. I need to do better? Of course he was. You don't think Justin Fields is the type of player that will take accountability if he does something that costs the team? He absolutely is. And Aaron Glenn is reiterating his wants and needs as a head coach for a team that holds themselves accountable. And I think that's a beautiful thing. I think the Jets can sustain that and put up a nice competitive game against the Bills, assuming they drop the game because it's the Buffalo Bills and they're just a better team and they should win this game. And if they don't win this game, everything I said about them against the Ravens and MVP and all those Super Bowl contending things, you know, I don't say those same things anymore. You can't drop a game against the Jets in a situation where you're a team that's trying to win it all and has been trying to win it all for multiple seasons now and continues to fall short. So the Jets don't have any expectations. Well, the internal Jets probably have expectations to win any game they play against because that's definitely the mentality that they have in that locker room based on what you can see. But for the Bills and for the rest of the world, there's really no expectation that the Jets win this game. So you just got to put up a good performance and you see it as a positive. And I think you want to take the New York football teams, the Giants and the Jets. There's one that's clearly on the right uprise as of week 1, and one that's clearly made no strides yet as of week 1. And you can do the math and figure out which team is which. For me, Aaron Glenn is what this team needs. And until he proves me otherwise, and I'll let you know if he proves me otherwise, until he proves me otherwise, this team is going to be more successful than they were last year. Justin Fields, if he can continue to play like he can play, he is a young, athletic dude who can make things happen in the way that Rodgers can't anymore because Rodgers is getting old. And he's taken regression, and he looks better though so far in the Steelers uniform than he did with the Jets, and maybe a little revamping, but you can't compare. You can't compare a young kid to a veteran who's in his 40s. You just can't. So that's the week 1 wake up, and we're gonna do this every single week. The week 1 wake up. This show is just gonna be the week 1 wake up because that's really all that there is to talk about, besides New York baseball. But there's nothing new that I haven't said in these past episodes that I have to say. Like this, the New York baseball teams are in such different places, yet the same. And it's funny. That's going to do it for the week 1 wake up, though. So every single Monday after the week is, or at least the Sunday slate is over, I'll be sending stuff out on my social media. Go follow me on social media, by the way, because I'm very active on it, and I like to interact with you guys and feature some of your questions and comments on the show. And this is a great opportunity to get involved, make a connection. and just voice your opinion and let those feelings out as a sports fan. Sometimes we got to let those feelings out. And if we're mad or depressed as a fan or whatever, you got to let those feelings out, man. And we can talk about them. So follow me on socials. If you go to the description of this episode, it's all there for you. You can see it. Follow me there. Reach out. Let me know you're coming from this podcast episode, and let me know what you want me to talk about next. Let me know if you want me to make a point about a team, and I'll shout you out. I love the interaction and the ability to talk about sports and share the passion with others who share the same passion, even if we don't share the love for the same team. Because I'm sitting pretty right now as a Packers fan, so I can't complain. But I know there's a lot of other people who can complain quite a bit and who are struggling deeply. So that's going to wrap up the Gabby Gordon Show for this week. A little all over the place, but I think that's the beauty of the NFL. It's just that we're all over the place, and there's so many different avenues and things to talk about. And it doesn't get much better. So I'll see you next Friday, same time, same place. Appreciate you joining me. And we'll have a lot to talk about on the Week 2 Wake Up. And you can follow me on socials because I post there all the time. So even though you don't listen to the podcast until Friday, I make videos all the time about teams and things of that nature. So you can always stick with me, do that. We're looking to have some guests on the podcast in the future, so stay tuned for that as well. Got some nice connections, some nice friends who are very avid sports fans, very passionate sports fans that I think would have a really good time talking on the podcast. And I think that, you as listeners would love to hear them and would be big fans of them too. So stay tuned for that. We only want this podcast to go up, up, up. It's been so much fun to get it on the ground running, and now it's time to grow it. So share it with a friend that likes sports, that hates the Giants or hates the Jets or loves the Giants and wants a friend. Whatever you got to do. I really appreciate all the support, and I'll catch you next time. My name is Gabby Gordon. Be awesome, and have a good one.